Welcome to the Nubian Spiritual Warriors Astrology Podcast.
My spiritual essence is Walamu Mudada. And this podcast is provided for those who are seeking wisdom on their journey from darkness into the light.
Kee2, Star Constellations. In learning the language of astrology, there are certain components that are essential to know and to understand. First, let's look at planetary symbols. Another is astrological signs. Third is astro-sun symbol. Fourth is astro-moon symbol. The astral houses and the ascendants are important as well. You have the aspects, the moon node, and astral patterns. Once you have become familiar with these signs and symbols and what they represent, you're well on your way. The sun and the moon. The sun represents focus and the conscious mind as it relates to thought and reason. The moon represents desires, emotions, and the unconscious mind as it relates to instinct and intuition. The astrological houses cover a certain domain in life. In your study, learn at least one aspect that each house covers that will help you in your analysis. Also, as you create an astrological chart, make sure that you are able to put the sign and the planet that represents that sign in the correct house. And as well, put, say, a key word for the first house, second house, third house, and so on in there along with the planet and the sign. Ascendant. The ascendant sign reflects your physical appearance, your personality, your aura, and your social as well as your self-perception. It also structures the houses in your chart based on your ascendant. The following houses proceed. For example, if your ascendant or first house is Scorpio, the sign that rules your second house would be Sagittarius. This is why your time of birth is important. It indicates what sign was on the ascendant when you were born. 4 elements of manifestation. They are fire, earth, air, and water. They help you in learning and understanding the aspects. Major aspects. Aspects represent or primarily means relationships or energy patterns. You can relate that to sacred geometry. Conjunction, 0 degrees, is a synthesis or concentration of energy. Opposition, 180 degrees, is a conflict or challenge. Square, 90 degrees, a challenge or opportunity. Trine, 120 degrees, easy flow, comfortable energy. Sextile, 60 degrees, a can-do, motivated energy. Here's a visual of a conjunction. Planets share information relating to their joint purpose. A visual of a sextile. Planets are communicating their shared understanding. Visual of a square. Planets must remember their shared understanding because each planet is becoming single-minded. Listening and understanding each other is needed to harmonize energy. Visual of a trine. Planets are communicating and remembering their shared understanding. Opposition. Planets must remember their shared understanding because each planet is becoming single-minded. Listening and understanding each other is needed to harmonize the energy. The pattern starts as a conjunction, cycles life gathering information and returning to a conjunction in a different sign after amassing or mastering a wealth of knowledge. This is similar to the hero's journey. South Node. The South Node represents energy from your previous hero's journey or lifetime. It relates to what you have experienced. These are things that you may have mastered or feel comfortable with. It can include relationships, and it also can be the basis of karma. This karma can be the undercurrent of the North Node. Judgment is withheld. Everything is in divine order. North Node. The natal North Node represents your present hero's journey and possible future journey. This is the direction that you should be moving toward. However, the choice is yours. The results of your choice is what creates your karma for the next lifetime. Judgment is withheld. Everything is in divine order. Astro patterns. There are repeating geometric patterns in astrology that embodies a wealth of information. Once these patterns are understood, it makes it easier to decode the message. These patterns are found in the cosmos as well as personal charts. Now, in the process of analyzing a chart, there's four basic components that you want to take in consideration. A basic analysis requires the synthesis of these four major components. An understanding of the meaning or attributes in each symbol increases the depth of knowledge. In some cases, a basic analysis can be done with any combination of the two. Now, we're going to begin to Star Trek and analyze a chart. The key things that we're looking for, we're not going to try to do all of the aspects or things that's involved in it. But the key thing that we're looking for is, say, what planet forms a conjunction. What house is it in? What planets form a trine? What house is it in? What planets are in the 10th house? What planets are in Capricorn? Now, the individual chart that we're going to take a look at is of a female leader in our community, African American community. Noted and well known. Now, it's not, the central idea here is not so much to come up with the name of the individual, but come up with the individual's attributes. Because at the end, I'll give you the name. But the important thing here is to come up with the attributes or the characteristics that identify this individual and see if those characteristics that you come up with pertain to that individual. That's key. And I'll give you the name at the end, so don't worry about that. All right, so we're looking at the chart right now. Take a minute. I want you to get familiar and comfortable with looking at a chart. So it don't look so much like a maze, but it begins to make sense to you. Now, at the top of the chart, I indicated the elements or the planets or asteroids that's in certain elements. Because it is also, it's like similar to the astro patterns. It give you a quick shot of the person's disposition. So just looking at the elements before we go into the chart. And remember, this is a female leader in the African American community, well known. She has 7 planets in Earth sign. Okay, that has a significant meaning. Okay, she has 7 planets in the Earth sign. She has 5 planets in air, 3 in water, and 2 in fire. So looking at that, and I'll give you a minute to, let that digest. We want to look at what word would be the demeanor of that person. So take a minute. Majority air, quite a bit of majority earth, quite a bit of air, some water, and finally some fire. Take a minute. Think of that type of demeanor. With 7 planets in Earth sign, it would give you the feeling that this individual is pretty much grounded. With 5 planets in their air sign, it gives you the indication that this person is a thinker. Three planets in the water would give you the indication that the person is not highly emotional. And 2 in the fire would give you an indication that there is some spark in this person. But maybe you might have to pull it out. But there is a spark. There's some fire there. Okay. Now we're going to go a little further and look at the chart. Now, in looking at the chart, we're going to look at the conjunctions. Now, conjunctions are planets that are, right next to each other or within a 5-degree orb. Now, there's several ways to look at it. One way, you can just look at the chart and see what planets are close to each other, and they're basically in the same sign. Okay, then you have to find out how many degrees in that sign is that planet, because if they look close together, but they may be a range beyond 5 degrees. So let's start with the sun. The sun is in Aries at 15 degrees. Now, a planet that looks close to the sun, because the sun is in red, that red circle with a dot, and that's why it's important to recognize the symbols. A planet that is close to the sun is Mercury. Okay, it's in green. Now, as you look to the right, Mercury is 8 degrees Aquarius. The sun is 15 degrees Aquarius. So that's about a 7-degree difference. Now, some astrologers would use that 7-degree orb, but I like to keep the orbs tight. So I wouldn't necessarily say that that's a conjunction, because they're out of that range of 5 degrees. Now, I know you see that circle and the X, that's a part of fortune. We'll talk about that later. Now, let's see, if you go over to the right, you'll see that Uranus, that green symbol that almost look like an H with a circle at the bottom. And if you look over to the right, the catalog over to the right says Uranus is 4 degrees Aquarius. So look at Uranus and Mercury and see if to you that's a conjunction using a 5-degree range. Take a minute. Okay, if you look at it, you'll see that Mercury is 8 degrees Aquarius, and Uranus is 4 degrees Aquarius. So that's within that 5-degree range. So I would say that they are conjunct. The next question is, well, what house are they conjunct in? So there's a couple of things that you will take a look at. One, you will take a look at the house that they're in. So what house is Mercury and Uranus in? And what does that tell you? So they're both in the first house, Mercury and Uranus. So what does that tell you? Then the next question is, what do you know about Mercury? What do you know about Uranus? See, this is where knowledge of each planet is very helpful. So we do have a conjunction between Mercury and Uranus in the first house. Okay, Mercury is about communication. Say that's a key word for that. I'll talk about the planet, then I'll talk about the house. Mercury is about communication. Uranus is about change. Uranus have the spirit of a rebel. It wants change. It's not necessarily satisfied with the status quo. Now, the first house deals with an individual's personality, how they present themselves. So if you're looking at, say, just that conjunction, Mercury and Uranus, and you synthesize some of that information, you'll see that this individual appears to be a rebel and someone who can speak up for themselves. Just with that conjunction. Let's see if there's any other conjunction. Okay, I see the moon and Mars are fairly close to each other. And as I'm looking to the right, it says that the Mars is in Capricorn and 18 degrees, and the moon is Capricorn 25 degrees. Now, based on the 5-degree orb, is that a conjunction? Again, there's about 7 degrees between those planets, so I wouldn't necessarily call that a conjunction. And today we're just focusing on conjunctions and trines. So we're looking at conjunctions first, then we can go to trines. Okay, so now moving along the chart to see if there's any other planets that's close together that are forming a conjunction. And I don't see any planets close to each other. Now, you've got a variety of asteroids and things of that nature, but your planets will be in color. Your asteroids or other symbols will be in black, except for Saturn. Saturn is in the 4th house, but there's nothing near Saturn. Okay, so we looked at the conjunctions. Next thing we want to take a look at is the trines. Okay, and I'm getting some comments as well, talking about Mercury as thought. Yes. All right. Now we're going to look at trines. Now the reason that we're doing conjunctions and trines are that they're easy to identify. So we're going to start with what's easy to identify, and eventually we're going to build to the point where, we'll find more complex aspects. But right now we're looking at the ones easy to identify. So the next thing we're looking at, now keep that information in the back of your mind as far as that conjunction between Mercury and Uranus in the 1st house. And they're in the sign of Mercury and Uranus in the 1st house, and they're in the sign of Aquarius. Now, let me mention something about Aquarius being in that sign. Aquarius is often considered, and anybody that can put a comment in the chat as it relates to Aquarius, given some attributes of Aquarius. But Aquarius is considered a humanitarian. So right away, it with that sun, let's see, I think the sun is in Aquarius, you got Mercury in Aquarius, you got Uranus in Aquarius. That indicates a female that's concerned about, you know, humanitarian causes, might be concerned about the suffering of people. Okay, so those are some clues right there. But again, the main thing is not necessarily if you get the right name, do you get the right energy? That's more important, getting the right energy. And the planets will give you that energy beyond that name, because social presentation of the individual may not be nothing like how the individual actually is as far as their energy is concerned. All right, let's see, we're looking for trines now. Now, this is where it is easy as well. Planets that are in the same element forms a trine, as long as they are within that 5-degree range. Planets that are in the same element form the possibility of a trine. But you got to look at how many degrees. Are there degrees that close? Okay, so let's start with we'll start with Aquarius, since the sun is in Aquarius. Now the sun is 15 degrees Aquarius. That's an air sign. What other sign is air? See, that's where the elements come in. Let's see. And you can put that information in the chat if you know any. So there's 2 other air signs. If you know the other air signs, put that information in the chat. Aquarius is air. There's 2 other air signs. Once you know those 2 other air signs, then okay, all right, I've got Gemini. Yes, that's air. Okay, so we know Aquarius is air, Gemini is air. There's one other. There's one other air sign. Put that in the chat if you know that other air sign, or just guess if you have to. So we got Aquarius is air, Gemini is air, and yes, Libra is air. I got a couple of people saying Libra. Yes, Libra is air. Okay, now we're going to go to Gemini and see if there's a planet in Gemini's, which is covering, look like Gemini is covering the 5th house. If there's a planet in Gemini that's around 15 degrees. And if you're not sure looking at the chart, then look at the information to your right. See what's in Gemini. Okay, look like Pluto is in Gemini. Pluto is in blue. It's by the 5th and 6th house, but it's in Gemini. But Pluto is 28 degrees. The sun is 15 degrees. So that's out of range. Okay, somebody said Libra. So let's find Libra. But we don't seem to have a planet in Libra. Okay, and that's the south node. But we're just focusing on planets right now. So there's nothing that's trining the sun. All right, let's see. Let's take something. Let's go to the moon. All right. Now, yeah, that's good because then we're doing the different elements. All right. The moon is 25 degrees Capricorn. Now, Capricorn is an earth sign. Capricorn is an earth sign. So there's two other earth signs. Put in the chat what the other earth signs are. Capricorn is an earth sign. There's two other earth signs. And it's okay if you guess and if you're not sure. Okay. Yeah. All right. So one person said Taurus is an earth sign. Yes, it is. And another person said Virgo is an earth sign. Okay. So now, this is how we're going to look at it. The moon is 25 degrees Capricorn. Now we're going to go to Taurus and see if there's any planet in Taurus close to 25 degrees. Now look like we have Saturn in there. Okay, now take a look. Saturn is 27 degrees Capricorn. Oh, I'm sorry, Taurus. The moon is 25 degrees Capricorn, and Saturn is 27 degrees Taurus. They are of the same element, and their degree is close enough to where we have a trine. So the moon and Saturn are trine. Okay, so let's see if there's, and there was, I think Virgo was the other one, but we don't have any planets in Virgo. Virgo is covering the 8th house. We don't have any, so the only trine we have right now is, say, the Earth sign trine of the moon and Saturn. So we did air. We did say earth. Let's see if we got anything in water. Okay. Let's see if we have anything in water. Let's see. I'm looking to the chart over to the right. And we have Neptune, 24 degrees Cancer. Cancer is a water sign. It's 24 degrees. Now, we have two other water signs. What are those two other water signs? We know Cancer is a water sign. All right, so put in the chat the name of another water sign. Oh yeah, people jumped on Scorpio. They jumped on Scorpio, okay, and Pisces. All right, we got Scorpio and Pisces. Now, let's go to the chart. We know we have Neptune at 24 degrees Cancer, water sign. Now we're going to go to Scorpio and see if there's any planets in Scorpio. And I don't see any planets in Scorpio. All right. Then we know Pisces. And let's see if there's anything in Pisces. We have Chiron in Pisces. Venus is close to Pisces, but Venus is not in Pisces. So we don't have a trine in water. Last trine we're going to look for is fire. See if we have a fire trine. So we have Venus, 1 degrees, Aries. Okay, it's the green planet, right in the second house, 1 degree Aries. Now, we're looking for anything that's somewhere close to 1 degree Aries. That's in but first you got to know the other fire signs. So Aries is a fire sign. What else is a fire sign? We have 2 others. Okay, so just put that in chat. Okay, Sagittarius is a fire sign. Okay, and Leo is a fire sign. So now we go to Leo and see if Leo is covering that 7th house, and we don't have a planet there in Leo because Neptune is in Cancer. So we go to Sagittarius. There's not a planet there either. So that's the limit of our trines. That's not the limit of the aspects, but that's the limit of our trines. We already did the conjunctions. That's the only thing that we're going to work on today. All right. Now, before we get to the individual, I'd like for you to relax and meditate on the name that might come to your mind. And the first name that come to you, you go with that one. Don't second guess yourself.
Assume the position. It may be with your feet flat on the floor and your spine erect. It may be in a yoga position. Whatever position you assume, your spine is erect. Now gently close your eyes, for you are going on an inner journey. And this inner journey begins with the breath. So as you inhale, earth energy comes up through the center of your feet, through the center of your body, to the top of your head. And on exhalation, it showers out the top of your head like a fountain, returning to the earth. Again, on inhalation, earth energy comes up through the center of your feet, through the center of your body to the top of your head. And on exhalation, this energy showers out the top of your head like a fountain.
Kee2, star constellations. Kee2, star constellations is a family affair. As a family or an individual, learn the ancient science of astronomy, astrology, numerology, and sacred geometry. The lessons are basic and engaging for all ages. They are insightful and empowering. Kee2, star constellations. Okay, so let's put in the chat before I give you the name. Put in the chat that came to your mind, or put a comment in where the name that came to your mind based on the information that we covered. And I'll give you an opportunity to put that in. Okay. And remember, it's not so much the name that you want to get right. You want to try to connect with the energy. Oh, that's a nice one. Yes, I could see that one. I'll wait till a few more come in. That's a real good one. That's a real good one. I could see that. All right, come on, put some names in here. Don't be waiting on me. Okay. All right, I'll wait for a few more names. So if I haven't said anything yet, I'm waiting on you. Okay, yeah. All right. So yeah. Now the name of the individual and Kashaka picked up on the energy. The name of the individual is Rosa Parks, but Kashaka picked up on the energy because that energy is similar to Angela Davis. I hadn't thought about that till Kachaka mentioned that. That's a very similar energy to Angela Davis. Now he's got me thinking. I want to take a look at Angela Davis's chart to see how similar that energy is to Rosa Parks. Okay, now he gave me some homework. And continue to say study the signs and the symbols and things of that nature and the planets, so that as we mention certain signs, planets, or aspects, you can glean a host of information. Okay, thank you very much. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification and high vibrations.